Chinese hackers are currently inside the networks that control American power grids, water treatment facilities, oil and gas pipelines, and ports. They are not stealing data. They are not conducting espionage. They are waiting. The FBI director testified before Congress that the goal of this operation, codenamed Volt Typhoon, is to pre-position inside critical infrastructure so that in the event of a military conflict over Taiwan, China can cause devastating disruptions to civilian life in the United States. The lights going out, the water stopping, the ports shutting down. That is the objective. Volt Typhoon was publicly identified by Microsoft and U.S. intelligence agencies in May 2023. Unlike most nation-state hacking groups, Volt Typhoon's tactics are deliberately designed to be invisible. They do not use custom malware that security software can detect. They use a technique called living off the land, exploiting legitimate administrative tools that already exist on the target systems. PowerShell. Windows management instrumentation. Remote monitoring tools that utilities use to manage their own infrastructure. The attackers blend into the normal traffic of the network. The specific target profile tells you the intent. Volt Typhoon has been found in electric utilities, water and wastewater systems, telecommunications infrastructure, transportation networks, and maritime ports. This is not the target list of an economic espionage operation. Industrial espionage goes after defense contractors, pharmaceutical companies, technology firms. Volt Typhoon is targeting the infrastructure that civilian populations depend on for survival. That is the target set for a campaign designed to cause maximum societal disruption in a military scenario. The typical Volt Typhoon intrusion follows a pattern. Initial access comes through internet-facing network devices, routers, VPN appliances, and firewalls from vendors like Cisco, Netgear, and Fortinet that have known vulnerabilities and have not been patched. Once inside, the group moves laterally using credentials. They harvest from the compromised devices. They establish persistence, multiple access paths, so that removing one does not remove all of them. Then they go quiet, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, sitting, waiting, ready. In January 2024, the US government announced it had disrupted a Volt Typhoon botnet, a network of compromised home routers that the group was using as a relay infrastructure to obscure their traffic. The disruption was real. The threat was not eliminated. CISA and the FBI issued a joint advisory acknowledging that Volt Typhoon had maintained access to some victim environments for at least 5 years. 5 years of quiet persistence inside critical infrastructure, and they still cannot confirm how many systems remain compromised. Guam receives special mention in every Volt Typhoon briefing. The island is home to significant U.S. military installations, including Andersen Air Force Base and Naval Base Guam, critical nodes in any U.S. military response to a Taiwan conflict. Volt Typhoon has been found in Guam's communications infrastructure specifically. If China can disrupt communications between the continental United States and Guam in the opening hours of a conflict, it degrades the U.S. military's ability to respond. The civilian hacking operation is part of the military strategy. The United States and China are not at war. The Taiwan question has not escalated into a military conflict, but the infrastructure penetrations are happening right now, in peacetime, as a deliberate preparation for a conflict that may never happen, or may. That framing matters. Volt Typhoon is not reacting to a crisis. It is creating options. If a conflict begins tomorrow, the hackers already inside U.S. infrastructure can be activated immediately, without any additional penetration required. The access has already been purchased. It just hasn't been used yet. The specific concern that national security officials have articulated is not just power outages. It is the combination. Power goes out. Water treatment systems fail. Communications networks are disrupted. Transportation and fuel supply chains freeze. Each individually is manageable. Together, simultaneously, they create a cascade that modern societies are not prepared to absorb. The scenario that planners describe is not science fiction. It is the explicit doctrine that China's People's Liberation Army has documented in its own strategic publications. The defense against Volt Typhoon requires something U.S. critical infrastructure has historically resisted: mandatory cybersecurity standards. Unlike the defense industry or the financial sector, most utility companies operate under a patchwork of voluntary guidelines and state-level regulations. A water utility in a small county may have no federal cybersecurity requirements whatsoever. The same is true for many telecommunications providers and regional power distributors. The legislation to impose minimum standards has been discussed for years. It has not passed. Volt Typhoon is not the first Chinese operation inside U.S. critical infrastructure, and it will not be the last. What makes it different from conventional espionage is the stated intent. This is not about stealing intellectual property or reading diplomatic cables. This is about having the ability, at a moment of China's choosing, to turn off the lights in American cities, stop the water in American towns, and shut down the ports that American supply chains depend on. The access is already there. The decision about whether to use it belongs to Beijing. Right now, they are waiting. Volt Typhoon waits inside the power and water systems. A different Chinese operation simply listened. China hid inside U.S. telecom networks for 2 years, cover Salt Typhoon and the calls they could reach. It is on this channel.